Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, channel 217. You can find us on all your smart TVs. It's very simple to download as we're on the 24/7 live channel here every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock here on 12 Ounce Sports. Yours truly, Captain Lou, with you again. You can follow us on Facebook. Follow our Facebook page, the Captain Lou Extravaganza. You can follow us on X at the Real Captain Lou and at 12 Ounce Sports. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, 12 Ounce Sports, the Captain Lou Sports Network. We're everywhere. We're on Instagram, Twitch, you name it, we're there. 12 Ounce Sports, and of course, the Captain Lou Extravaganza. September 11th, 2024. I know it's a somber anniversary, if you will. We all know what happened 23 years ago. My goodness. It seems like yesterday that happened, but it bound a nation together. And we take time to remember that, of course, earlier today. And we're going to try to make it a little bit of a lighter day here. We're not going to take anything, not make light of the situation, but we're going to try to maybe steer you away from that and talk a little NFL football and some sports like we normally do each and every Wednesday night right here at 7 o'clock. As always, the Captain Lou Extravaganza is brought to you by tickets.12ouncesports.com. We are a ticket broker. That means that we're not going to charge you some of those exorbitant fees that you see on some of those secondary markets. We are legit. We are there. Go to tickets.12ouncesports.com and use the promo code 12ounce while you're at it too, and you'll get a little better discount as well. We've got tickets to all the great games, week 2 of the NFL, week 3 of the college football season. Not a whole lot of games, big games in college football, but we'll talk about a little bit. And of course, later on, we will have our third installment of the Captain Lou Six Pack Challenge, where I pick 6 games, 3 college, 3 pro against the spread. Your job is to pick those games better than me. If you do, you're going to be in the drawing for some great prizes that we will be giving away at the end of the college football season, the Wednesday after the national championship game coming up in January. And one national championship participant, I don't think, or 2 of them, I don't think you'll have to worry about seeing, are Michigan and Notre Dame, as they got humiliated this weekend. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the show. So we'll give you those picks a little bit later on as well, probably in the last half hour of the show, right around the 40-minute mark. So make sure you stick around for that. We are going to go through all the games in the NFL in week 1. There were some big games. There were some crazy games, some humiliating losses, and some good finishes. Of course, our Lions with a thrilling overtime win over the Los Angeles Rams. We'll talk about that game too, what to expect in week number 2. Some big games, Detroit and Tampa kind of leading the way, I would think, as a rematch of the second round of the NFL playoffs last year, as Detroit starting out with a gauntlet with the Rams and with the Buccaneers, both at home. So we'll talk about that as well. As we mentioned, college football, not much on the docket. We've got a couple of rivalry games and some interesting matchups, but only one top 25 matchup this weekend, and it's going to be Boston College, ranked 24th in the country, against Ole Miss. So maybe we'll get a little taste to see if Ole Miss is for real. They really haven't played anybody. So we'll see what Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss bring to the table at home against Boston College. So we'll go through some of the college football landscape. And we've got what a game for Nebraska against Colorado. They just punked primetime Deion Sanders and his entourage, if you will, in Nebraska. Dominic Raiola, he came to play, and he looks like the real deal. Looking a little too much like Patrick Mahomes, but we'll take that as hey, if you want to follow somebody and play like somebody, I guess there really isn't anybody better than Patrick Mahomes to kind of pattern your game after a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. We'll take a look at Major League Baseball, as we always do, the standings, and our Detroit Tigers right now are only 3 games out of the last wild card spot in the American League. They trail the Minnesota Twins by 3, and I think the Kansas City Royals by 5.5 for those 2 wild card spots. But Kansas City and Minnesota have the tiebreaker in that, if should they remain tied, because it's different now. How they've done it in the past, they would play a game 163 if there was an absolute tie, but they don't do that anymore. They go as the tiebreaker head to head, and Minnesota and Kansas City have clinched the season series, both of them against the Detroit Tigers. So Detroit's going to have to beat one of them outright, and they won't get the tiebreaker to sneak into the wild card. But 17 games left for the Tigers, 74-71. Hey, who would have thought after some of the streaks that they have had on, they're getting some great pitching, and the schedule's not looking too bad for them. We'll go through that a little bit later on as well. So we got a lot to talk about here on the show for the next 54 minutes and change. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll get you right into week one of the NFL and talk about what happened there, give you our little spin on it as well. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live right here on Michigan Sports, or on 12 Ounce Sports rather, and the Captain Lou Sports Network, and of course, Dingo TV, channel 217.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And again, that's 12ouncesports.com/tickets. Go to the top of the webpage and you can hit the ticket tab there as well. We've got great tickets available for week 2, all of the big games in the NFL, college football, and the pennant races in Major League Baseball. We are your place to go for tickets. And again, you don't pay those fees that you see at some of the other ticket venues or secondary markets or whatever. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets. And just hit the ticket tab. And while you're there, use the promo code 12ounce as well, and you'll get even a little better deal. Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on this Wednesday, September the 11th, and week number 1 in the books for the NFL. And again, some crazy games in there. I think the biggest one, let's go right to the AFC North. I want to talk about that. How many of you were like me that were in a survivor pool? Obviously, for those of you that don't know how that works, is you get to pick a team once throughout the year, and if they win, you advance. What you try to do is pick what you think is the easiest victory straight up, no spread or anything like that. So how many of you picked Cincinnati with a home game against the New England Patriots this weekend? Raise your hand. Yeah, I did too. I understand that Cincinnati comes out and, they have a rough start at the beginning of the year. They've been notorious the last few years for slow starts. Well, this couldn't get any slower than this past Sunday in the jungle in Cincinnati against New England. And Joe Burrow just looked befuddled. I know they didn't have T. Higgins and, Jamar Chase, who I just read here a little while ago. He turned down a 4-year, $140 million contract. If that's true, then I don't feel sorry for the guy. I know Cincinnati likes to penny pinch and whatnot, but I got to tell you, that performance against New England was amazing, amazingly bad. Gerard Mayo, I want to give them credit. They came to play defensively, and their defense has never been the issue in New England, even with Bill Belichick in the last couple of years. But it's been the offense that's been anemic for them. But obviously, they didn't need it because Cincinnati's offense was even more anemic. So, I mean, they made New England look like the teams of old. So Cincinnati starts out 0-1. They've got Kansas City this weekend in Kansas City. And I don't know, T. Higgins isn't going to play. And I got to tell you, I think the line is 6.5 right now, Kansas City over Cincinnati. Be hard pressed not to take that. We'll see if that's in our Captain Lou 6-pack challenge a little bit later on. But oh my God, that was ugly. Speaking of ugly, going up the road in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, in Cleveland, the Dallas Cowboys, fresh off hours before kickoff, announcing the contract signing of Dak Prescott, making him the highest paid football player in professional sports or in professional football. 4-year, $240 million contract. And they go out and they play Cleveland and they just annihilate them. I mean, it was so bad. Deshaun Watson looked absolutely worthless. And, Cleveland's got a problem. There's no doubt about it. We've talked about it. Is Deshaun Watson going to show up? I've got a theory on that game, and I'm not blaming their loss on just this because they just thoroughly got embarrassed at home, losing that badly. They made Dallas look like a Super Bowl champion, and that obviously will remain to be seen. But I'm wondering if Deshaun Watson found out about these allegations that have come to light before the game started. I mean, he didn't look he looked so bewildered out there. He looked lost. And it was thoroughly a beatdown. Now, I know they sacked him 6 times. Their offensive line looked bad. And, it's crazy to think how poorly Cleveland looked. They've got talent on that team. They went to the playoffs last year with Joe Flacco, who was sitting on the couch halfway through the year. So you can't tell me they're a team like, Chicago or Carolina starting over. They've got weapons in Cleveland. They've got an amazing defense, a defense that gave up 33 points. Now, I know one was a punt return for a touchdown, but my God, that was bad, wasn't it? Cincinnati and Cleveland both really looked horrendous. And there's only one team in the AFC North that's undefeated after week 1, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense, you talk about a defense that came to play. Wow. I'll tell you what, again, they made Kirk Cousins look pedestrian, and he looked pathetic too. That was a game I thought Atlanta was going to win. I really did, because you had all the signs for Atlanta to win. Russell Wilson not playing. So Justin Fields was called on late. I'm sure he may have known this weekend before Sunday that he was going to play. But, they made Atlanta look pedestrian. Now, they didn't score a touchdown, but they got 6 Chris Boswell field goals. That was enough, because they harassed Kirk Cousins in that Atlanta offense. That defense, TJ Watt, again, what can you say about him? If he's not the best player in the league, maybe, Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons, but TJ Watt, to me, he's already got the inside track, in my opinion, for Defensive Player of the Year. What a great win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you win with the backup quarterback supposedly going in right at the last minute, that tells you something about your team. And they're going to go into Denver this weekend and take on the Broncos. And I think they're a 2.5-point underdog, something to keep in mind if you're going to put a shackle or two on some of the games this weekend. And then finally the Ravens against Kansas City, that there's no shame in that loss. They were a toe tap away from sending that game into overtime. That was a tough one to lose. I guarantee you it was. And could it be a preview for the AFC Championship game again? It might very well be. Baltimore's not too bad. They got a good running game. They got, here's my thing though. Derrick Henry only touched the ball 13 times, I think. That one kind of mystifies me. I know they want to kind of mix it up a little bit, but you got to get that guy involved while you can. We all know his injury. He tends to get injured later in the year. You want to ride the horse as long as you can. And with Derrick Henry, that you want to keep that, you want to keep that going. A little mystified by that, but they came within a score of Kansas City. They kind of let them off the hook a little bit, but Kansas City looked pretty hungry, and I like their defense. I thought their defense played okay in that game. It's only going to get better. And, Xavier Worthy, my question with him with Kansas City, I think he's 160 pounds soaking wet. Is he going to be able to maintain that all year? He's electrifying, no doubt. A little bit smaller version of Jamal Williams from Michigan or from Detroit. Jameson Williams rather. But you know what? He's exciting, and he proved it with a couple of touchdowns for Kansas City. So we'll keep an eye on that. Going to the AFC South, Tennessee and Chicago. That game may have set the NFL back 5 years. Tennessee gave Caleb Williams the opportunity to be the first quarterback, first opening number one pick to win his opening game, opening start since David Carr 22 years ago or whatever it was, 23 years ago. They didn't win that game because of Chicago's offense. Tennessee gift wrapped that one. What the hell was Levitt doing with that pass, up a point? I still don't get that. You talk about a panic job. They had a 17-3 lead against Chicago. Looked like they were going to maintain that, but Chicago came back. Again, they got the block punt for a touchdown, then the pick six. Caleb Williams did not look good. Obviously, it's his first start. He's a rookie. I get it. But he's prone to make some of these crazy plays. He made them at USC. He got all the ballyhoo, all the hype. But he's going to have to really pick it up a notch, especially this weekend when they travel to Houston. I think they're a 6.5-point dog going to Houston. That might be a little light, in my opinion. I think Houston might barrel roll Chicago on Sunday Night Football. So the nation will get their first chance to see Caleb Williams on Monday night or on Sunday Night Football. Tennessee, they're going to have to regroup. That again was an ugly, ugly game for them. So we'll keep an eye on that. Houston, we talked about them playing Chicago. They picked up right where they left off in the regular season. A big win on the road against Indianapolis. Anytime you beat a conference champion or a division opponent on their home turf or in their dome, in this case, you got to respect that. 32-27, they held on. And again, they've got some weapons. Stephon Diggs played really well. Nico Collins again. I mean, you've got Tank Dell. I mean, what about Joe Mixon? 149 yards rushing. I mean, a solid weapon like that. Houston, all of a sudden, they're looking pretty good in that division. Now, again, this might be overreaction week one with some of these games, but Houston winning a divisional game on the road, those are big. Those are big because those could be tiebreakers down the road. So now they've got a road game under their belt, a victory there. Again, they host Chicago on Sunday night, 6.5-point favorite there. Keep an eye on that one. That could be a good bet. And Jacksonville, what can you say? 17-3. They're up. They're driving. Travis Etienne doesn't fumble. They score. It's 24-3. And there you go. I think Miami's done. Miami got lucky. They survived. We'll give them credit. And now this is, again, we saw what Jacksonville did at the end of last year. 8-3 at one point, choking away that lead in that division, ended up losing it to Houston. But they don't. That's not the way to start. They had Miami on the ropes on the road, and you got to put those games away. As a Lions fan, I'm here to tell you how many years, how many decades did our Lions do that, where they didn't. They blew so many of those games. So yeah, that was a tough one to swallow for Jacksonville. We'll see if they can rebound this week as they're going to take. Let's see, who do they got on Sunday? Jacksonville. Let me scroll down real quick. They get to host Cleveland. That's going to be an interesting matchup right now. Jacksonville's a 3-point favorite at home against Cleveland. So basically that's a toss-up game. My head says Jacksonville in that one, but I'm not sure. Maybe Cleveland will wake up. They got the defense. I think one thing that could be a low-scoring game. If I were to bet on that one, and I don't think I'm touching that one with a 10-foot pole, I would take the under on that one, 41.5 on the over-under, because I don't know if Cleveland can muster 20 points. I don't even know if they can muster 14. They're that bad. Going to the AFC East, Buffalo and Miami, we talked about it. They survived. Miami did with a comeback win. Nice pass to Tyreek Hill for 80 yards, the playmaker, under the circumstances that he was under this weekend when he was being detained for speeding. So big win for Miami and Tua, and they're 1-0. They needed that. Buffalo, that was kind of a crazy game with Arizona. They survived that one at home. Arizona had a chance to tie it late, but couldn't quite capitalize on it. So a big win for Buffalo. These two teams do battle tomorrow night in Miami on Prime Video. If you don't have Prime Video, you're not watching the game. But this ought to be a decent game. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Mostert and Ashane may not be playing. Well, Mostert's not playing. Ashane may not play either. He's probably going to be a game time decision. And then you got Josh Allen. his non-throwing hand. It's, he practiced and he had these two fingers taped together. He's going to go. The guy's a warrior. He willed Buffalo to that win. That guy, I just don't understand why he doesn't get the love that some of these other quarterbacks get. This guy, he just brings it every week. He's reliable. He gets Buffalo to the playoffs. It's just absolutely amazing. But you know what? That's going to be an interesting matchup to start off week 2. Buffalo in Miami tomorrow. I believe Miami is a slight favorite in that one. Let's take a peek. They are a 2.5-point favorite. So basically it's a toss-up there. The over-under 48.5 on that one. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. All right, Monday Night Football. This was one of the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge picks I got right because I took San Francisco minus 4.5 back last Wednesday. Turned out to be right. Kind of saved me after my college picks were absolutely horrible. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But yeah, that I got to tell you, I thought the Jets were going to hang in there, and I'm pissed because I had Garrett Wilson on my fantasy team, and I needed 13 points out of him to win. I got 12. I lost a tiebreaker. He had 4 or 5 catches in the first quarter. I thought I went to bed at halftime or at the end of the quarter because I stayed up until midnight on Sunday night, and with a 3:30 wake up call, my butt was dragging Monday. But I thought for sure he was going to get at least 3 more catches. Nothing doing. After that drive, San Francisco just locked them down. They scored on like 7 or 8 straight possessions, the 49ers did, against this Jets defense that is supposed to be one of the best. Aaron Rodgers looked rusty. That's understandable. They don't look good. Their blocking still is not good. There's a problem in New York. A lot of people picked the Jets to go to the playoffs. I wasn't one of them. The Jets will be competitive, but boy, I understand it's San Francisco. I get it. They're one of the best teams in the league, but I'll tell you, on the road, they just, Saleh going back to San Francisco, they look bad. And hey, let's give credit to New England. Shocked the world with that win over Cincinnati. Gerard Mayo, congratulations. You're 1-0. So that's not too bad for the New England Patriots. Now in week 2, they are going to be home to Seattle. That'll be an interesting matchup with Seattle going cross country to play New England, although Seattle's good at these cross country games. Seattle's a 3.5-point favorite on the road. Interesting on that one. And the New York Jets, by the way, they look putrid, like we said. Their next matchup, they are, let's see, just scrolling down here. Why can't I find them on my list? New York Jets. Oh, they're at Tennessee. Tennessee, a 3.5-point favorite there. The Jets are a 3.5-point favorite on the road against Tennessee. So we'll keep an eye on that. And finally, in the AFC South, Kansas City, we talked about them. Big win for them over Baltimore. So they start off. Chargers grind one out over the Raiders. Good win for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's debut. That's another one that we got right. Those are the 2 games that we got right on our 6-pack challenge. So we were 2-4 last week. We got to turn this one around. That's why I encourage everybody to enter now while my picks are below par. I'm 4-8 on the season. You usually turn it around towards the end. So I'm going to kind of, keep my fingers crossed. But credit to the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. They won against the Las Vegas Raiders at home. And Denver, they looked okay on the road. They probably should have won that one. And I'll tell you, Seattle's damn lucky that they got that big 3rd down pass to lock it, or it could have been a different story. You're right. But woulda, coulda, shouldas. Denver's 0-1 with Bo Nix as a starter. They'll rebound next week. They'll play a little bit better. As Seattle, as we mentioned, they're going to take on the Jets. All right, let's quickly go over to the NFC. San Francisco, we talked about it against the Jets. Looked really good. They just plug and play. McCaffrey doesn't look good. He can't go. Mason comes in, gets $150 on the ground. It's just absolutely amazing. LA and Arizona, close but no cigars. Of course, the Rams, an overtime loss to the Lions. What a great game that was on Sunday night. Matt Stafford looked like the Matt Stafford of old. That's the Matt Stafford we saw a lot of times in Detroit, making some unbelievable throws, sidearm, as he's getting hit, but also throwing crucial interceptions, as he did right before the half. That's something that he used to do quite a bit in Detroit. So that kind of bit him in the ass again in Los Angeles, or for Los Angeles rather. And Arizona, again, they hung with They hung with Buffalo. These two teams are going to play each other this week in Arizona. And the line on that one is going to be, let's see where I can find it here. Arizona is a 1-point favorite right now against the Los Angeles Rams. That's an interesting matchup right there. And of course, we just talked about Seattle with a big win over Denver. And in the NFC East, we talked about Dallas pummeling Cleveland. Again, they looked really, really solid. When Zeke can come in and get a touchdown off the trash heap, that's a good moment for Dallas. They've got their offensive weapons all signed, sealed, and delivered now. As we mentioned, Zach gets his money. How about the Giants? What the hell was up with those uniforms, too, by the way? It looked like the Michigan Wolverines and the Montreal Canadiens had a baby. Those were the most hideous looking jerseys I've ever seen. I hope they burn those in the trash. The Giants played about as ugly as those uniforms. That was bad. Daniel Jones, they got a problem in their hands with the Giants. He did not look good. They made Sam Darnold and the Vikings look like world beaters in New York, too. That's the thing. Minnesota with a big road victory. 3 teams in the NFC North are 1-0. The Green Bay Packers are the ones that are 0-1. And we talked about Washington against Tampa Bay. It was a good game. They hung for a while. Tampa looked good, though. Again, with Baker Mayfield, they got weapons there with Evans and Godwin. You know what? Tampa Bay, that's going to be a fun 1:00 game against Detroit this Sunday in Detroit between the Lions and the Buccaneers. Good to keep an eye on that one. And in Sao Paulo, Philadelphia, they win against Green Bay. Tough night for the Packers. They lost Jordan Love probably for about 2 to 3 weeks. He's not on any injury report. They're trying to speculate he might play on Sunday. Jordan Love, we'll have to wait and see. But Philadelphia, they got banged up a little bit too, but they hung on. They survived. Kind of a weird game, but what do you expect on a Friday night in Brazil when these teams are flying down same day or the day before to play? I just don't get that idea. I mean, I understand why, because they want to make money, obviously. But Philadelphia with a big win over Green Bay to start off their week. We talked about Atlanta looking awful against Pittsburgh. New Orleans, holy crap. Who would have thought that they would have rung 47 up on Carolina? I drank the Kool-Aid. I thought Derek Carr and the Saints were on the downward end. Now, again, it's only 1 week. They travel to Dallas this weekend to take on the Cowboys. That's going to be a measuring stick game for them. But Atlanta looked absolutely brutal in that game. Absolutely brutal. And so that's going to be ugly as Atlanta now, they've got to go up to take on Philadelphia on Monday night. There's a good possibility that Atlanta could go 2-0 to start out the year. And we talked about Baker and Tampa looking good against Washington. They got a big matchup against the Lions this Sunday. That's going to be a fun one. Can't wait for that one. Carolina, yeah, they look lost. There's no doubt about it. They look lost. Not good at all. I don't know what the game plan is there, so I feel bad for Adam Thielen. It's just Bryce Young just looks overmatched. He really does. He's making C.J. Stroud look better and better every game. Finally, the NFC North. How about the Lions in that overtime win against the Rams? We talked about it. Lions jumped out to a 17-3 lead. They were behind 20-17. I think the caveat or the turning point in this one, obviously, was 17-all. First and goal at the 1-yard line for the Rams after a penalty call, a questionable interference call. They don't get it on first down. So on second down, maybe, 2 feet to go. And they try to run an end around. And they get called for holding, which probably should have been a face mask, but it was a penalty, pushed them back anyways. Then they got another penalty and then a tackle for loss. They ended up kicking a field goal up 20-17. The Lions come down last second. Jake Bates with a field goal, tie it up. The rookie, first kick ever, and then their first game ever as a kicker. Then Matthew Stafford comes out, throws one that Davis should have had. It went right through the wickets. That could have been interesting. He got away with that. Couldn't do anything. They go to overtime. Detroit wins the toss, and it's old-fashioned smash-mouth football. Chuck Knox Bud Grant, you name it, any of those old guys that used to coach Vince Lombardi with the student body right or whatever, just off tackle, they just pushed it right down the throats of the Los Angeles Rams. 8 plays, I think 7 out of 8 were running plays, and they just bulldozed the Rams and sent them back to LA with an overtime win. So Detroit is 1-0. We talked about Chicago, their ugly, ugly win. They're 1-0. Minnesota with their dominant win over the Giants. And of course, Green Bay losing both Jordan Love and the game on Friday. It's looking better and better for Jordan Love. He may only miss 2 to 3 weeks, which is good. We don't want to see him out long. He just signed that record deal as well with the Green Bay Packers. So we'll keep an eye on that. Green Bay will host Seattle. Minnesota, they are going to be hosting San Francisco, a 1 o'clock game. That's going to be an interesting one. San Francisco, a 6-point road favorite. And we talked about Green Bay. They're a 3-point underdog to Indianapolis at home. That's an interesting one to keep an eye on as well, especially if Jordan Love somehow plays. All right, before we go to break, we're going to try some. We're introducing something different. Look for this in article form too on 12 Ounce Sports, as I'll write this every week as well. Here's our first installment of the Captain Lou NFL Extravagant 6, where I pick the top 6 teams each week, and we'll list them right in order. You can see them right there on the page. Number 1, Kansas City. Big win over Baltimore. It was a close one, but they've got some playmakers. Their defense played a little bit better. They looked a little bit more organized after unveiling the Super Bowl banner as before last year against the Lions. Kansas City, number 1. San Francisco, man, they just bum rushed the New York Jets on Monday night. They didn't do anything to not make them any lower than number 2. You got to give it to San Francisco. Detroit at 3, a big overtime win over Los Angeles. It wasn't pretty. Neither team their quarterbacks played at all in the preseason, as a lot of the quarterbacks didn't. They made some great plays. They made some weird plays, both teams did, but Detroit looked solid. A big win when they were behind in overtime. First time they won an overtime game in 8 years, I believe. I've got Detroit at 3. Houston at 4. I know some people might think I'm crazy on this one, but I love Houston at 4. I think that what they've got going, D'Amico Ryans down there in Houston picking up Diggs. They've got Joe Mixon with a big game, a road divisional win against a game Indianapolis team. I've got Houston at 4. Philadelphia, they won a good game against a good team in Green Bay, a neutral site game down in Brazil on a Friday night. I just think that, they deserve to be there at number 5. And at number 6, I'll give it to Dallas. Dallas with their win over Cleveland, dominating fashion. We don't know how good Cleveland is, but that was such a dominant performance by Dallas. You got to get them at number 6. Honorable mention, Buffalo at 7 maybe, but those are the Captain Lou NFL Extravagant 6. We'll have that each week here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and look for a more detailed write-up for the Extravagant 6 on 12ouncesports.com. All right, we're going to take a break, switch gears. We're going to go to college football, and we'll get to our Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and it's live right here on Dingo TV, channel 217, and, of course, 12-ounce sports. Don't go anywhere.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12-ounce sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12-ounce sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And again, don't forget that we are a ticket broker. As we mentioned, we don't charge those fees that some of these other places do, these secondary markets. 12ouncesports.com/tickets. Hit the tickets tab on top of our website, 12 Ounce Sports, and it'll direct you there. We've got tickets to all these big matchups in week 2, San Francisco at Minnesota, Tampa Bay at Detroit, Indianapolis at Green Bay, just to name a few. The Monday night game, Atlanta at Philadelphia. Also the college football matchups. We've got it all. Major League Baseball games, pennant races are coming. It's the stretch run in Major League Baseball. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. All right, welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on this Wednesday night. Hope everybody's having a great week so far. College football week 2 wrap up from last week. Not a lot of big games going on, but a couple of big statements. First of all, what the hell happened to Notre Dame at home against Northern Illinois? Congratulations to the Huskies. They pulled a fast one on Notre Dame. That was ugly. And I tell you, we talked about Notre Dame's cream puff schedule, how they could glide into getting a playoff berth in the college football playoff. I mean, they still can. They're going to have to run the table. But I'll tell you what, that is a humiliating loss to the Northern Illinois Huskies. And I'll tell you, forget about getting a first-round bye, arguing about that. This loss is going to hurt. Because I'll tell you, if there's an 11-1 team that's tied with Notre Dame towards the end of the year, if there's like 1 or 2 spots remaining, this is going to haunt them. A home loss to a MAC team. And hey, all credit to Northern Illinois. They deserved it. They played poised. They won. They kicked the field goal when they had to. And their defense just shut down Notre Dame. Wow. Speaking of defenses shutting down a team, how about Texas? Just humbling and humiliating the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines. Wow, what a big matchup it was. Texas just thoroughly dominated Michigan on both sides of the ball. That was a wake-up call indeed for the Wolverines. They've got some issues on the offensive side of the ball. Again, exasperated with that. Warren didn't play good. Orgy, I don't know. And I got to tell you, it's not going to get any easier. That's troubling if you're a Michigan fan because they've got some big games coming up. USC in a couple of weeks. They've got Oregon. They got to go to Washington. Hell, they got Michigan State coming to town. And I'll tell you what, Michigan State, let's talk about them for a minute, shall we? Michigan State has found themselves a quarterback and receiver combo in Aiden Childs and Nick Marsh. And these two guys are only 18 years old. 363 yards for Marsh or for Childs, 194 yards receiving for Marsh. Again, 18 years old. I don't even know if Marsh is 18. A road Big Ten win against Maryland. I don't care what team you play on the road in the Big Ten. In a conference game, you go there. Youngsters like this, first up game as a head coach in the Big Ten for Jonathan Smith. I'm telling you, watch out for the Spartans. They're going to be something to deal with, and enjoy them in East Lansing while you can. With the way the college football landscape is right now, who knows how long they're going to last. I hope they stay their whole collegiate career in Michigan State. As a Michigan fan, I don't, but I like to watch good talent. And I've been banging the drum for Aiden Childs ever since he came to Michigan State. And I'm telling you, this kid's going to be special. He's going to be a Heisman candidate. I know it's only 2 games, but when you're 18 years old and you're throwing for 363 yards on the road in hostile environment, that tells you that you've got it. And this kid's got it. And so does Marsh. These 2 kids are going to be something to watch in East Lansing. And I can't say enough about them. And I'll tell you what, they're going to bring that game plan to Ann Arbor in the end of October. And Michigan better be ready, or else it could be ugly. Or the Paul Bunyan Trophy is going to come back to East Lansing. And I know Michigan fans want nothing to do with that. Still early, but I'm telling you that over-under pick of 5 games for wins for Michigan State, that over bet is looking really, really good. Talk about teams that survived in the Big Ten. How about Penn State surviving against Bowling Green? Call it a letdown game after that big win on the road against West Virginia, but it took every ounce of energy they had. And what about Oregon? Barely getting by Boise. Is Boise that good as a group of 5 team? Or is Oregon just kind of reading their press clippings and maybe they're not all that? They've got a matchup against Oregon State this weekend, and you talk about a team that's going to have a chip on their shoulder coming up this weekend, feeling slighted. That's Oregon State. And I got a little feeling that game might have a little bearing in our Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. We'll have to wait and see. Another question, is USC's defense fool's gold? They pitched a shutout against Utah State. We'll see once they start playing Big Ten. And again, are you worried about Oregon? If you're an Oregon fan, are you worried? They're going to have to start playing the big boys here pretty soon. And I'm telling you, this game this weekend they've got is going to be no cakewalk in Corvallis. I guarantee you that. So we talked about it. Really not too many big matchups in the top 25. There's only one with two ranked teams, and that's 24th ranked Boston College traveling to number 6 Missouri. So not really a game that's going to jump out and just unless you're fans of those two teams. Lane Kiffin will get his first somewhat of a test at home against 24th ranked Boston College. We'll see how they do. That's Michigan State's opponent next week, by the way. And Missouri, they're ranked 6th in the country. They're one of 6 SEC teams in the top 10. You've got Georgia deserving, Alabama deserving, Tennessee with a big win over NC State. Let's see who else that we've got there. You've got Ole Miss, and you got Missouri. And I'm sorry, Ole Miss, I apologize. Lane Kiffin coaching at Ole Miss. I beg your pardon on that. We'll see what Missouri's got. So obviously I missed that one. And of course, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Tennessee. Then you've got 3 Big Ten teams ranked and then 1 ACC team, that being Miami. Are all those teams deserving? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, that'll play itself out. So, yeah, it's not a huge week, but some interesting matchups. And we're going to talk about those, of course, real quick. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it'll be time for the Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge. So we invite you to stick around for that. And we'll talk a little Major League Baseball, too. We'll take a quick look at the standings. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It is live right here on 12-Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, channel 217. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12-Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, channel 217. You can also catch us on YouTube on the Captain Lou Sports Network and, of course, on the 12-Ounce Sports YouTube page. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch. We're everywhere. We're on Instagram. You name it, we're there. That's 12-Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Extravaganza. All right, everybody, without further ado, let's get to it. Week 3 of the Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge. Again, how it works, the Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge. If you think you can pick the games that I'm about to give you better than me, 3 college, 3 pro against the spread, join and play, and you're going to win some great prizes at the end of the year. We've got a $100 Visa gift card we're going to be giving away, and in October we'll announce another prize. We're going to have some multiple prizes this year. It's the 4th year we're doing it, and it's that simple. All you need to do is, you can see it on the bottom of the page. Just email your picks to me at sweetlou1965@yahoo.com. You can also put them on a grid on our webpage on 12-Ounce Sports. You can give them to me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter or X at The Real Captain Lou. Follow me on the Captain Lou Extravaganza or my own personal Facebook page. You can all see them scrolling right down there on the bottom of the screen. So it's that simple. Again, I'm going to pick here shortly 3 games against the spread for college, 3 games against the spread for pro. And if you can beat me on those games, and I know you guys have had a head start because the first 2 weeks I've been 2-4. I was 0-3 against the spread in college, 2-1 against the pros. Monday night got me my second pro win with the San Francisco -4.5 against the New York Jets. So, hey, get me while you can, because once I start getting hot, man, there's no stopping me. Just like last year, I think the last couple of weeks I was golden. So I was undefeated. So, just keep an eye on that. Just remember that. So you might want to think about that as you start getting ready for your Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge picks. Join as often as you want. In the past, we've had guys that have beaten me 7 times, 8 times. That's more chances for you to get in the drawing at the end of the year, again, for great prizes. So keep an eye out for that. That, of course, is the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. All right, without any further ado, let's go to the college side for the first pick of the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. Wisconsin versus Alabama at Camp Randall Stadium. Big Ten, SEC. If this was a neutral site game, I could go with Alabama maybe covering 16 points. This is Camp Randall. That place is going to be rocking. The weather's going to be amazing. They've got the ex-Miami quarterback there. His name escapes me. I know we've got Milroe for Alabama. Kalen DeBoer, he's undefeated. This will be a test, obviously, for Wisconsin, but just the environment. I don't know if Wisconsin's going to win this game, but 16 points, that's an awful lot at home. Give me Wisconsin and the points at home against Alabama. Man, I can't wait for that game. That's going to be fun. Again, Alabama may win this one. I could see them winning this one maybe 27-17 or 34-20, but 16 points is a lot on the road against a quality Big Ten opponent. Wisconsin's no slouch. I know it's not, Ron Dane or whatever, but in an environment like that, Alabama, you talk about one of the most festive environments in all of college football. We talk about it with Nebraska. We talk about it with Alabama, everywhere. But Wisconsin's right up there. It's going to be a grand time there. Man, I would love to be in Madison. What a cool town. I was there in May, and I'll tell you, it's such a neat college town. It's a bucket list place to go for a college football game, and I want to go there for a college football game really bad. I will be going there soon. But Madison is just such a cool city to walk through and everything. So, and a great campus. All right, game number 2. We saw it last week. Prime time against Nebraska. In prime time on NBC, and you talk about punking somebody. Dominic Raiola and the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Matt Rule punked Colorado on the road. It was that simple. I mean, they just obliterated them. And of course, I picked Colorado to cover last week. What did I know? So I'm pissed at them. So I'm taking Colorado State. This is like their Super Bowl right now. You've got a Colorado team on the brink. Matt Rule is a good football coach. Primetime Deion Sanders is he's a good entertainer. He's a spokesman. Now, I will give him credit. Colorado's relevant because of him. They've gotten a lot more enrollment. I get all that. The money at the campus is coming in. But on the field, they don't look good at all. You talk about a poor offensive line that Michigan's got, Colorado's is worse. And they're going to Fort Collins to take on Colorado State. I'm taking Colorado State in the points at home. Another home dog, a touchdown favorite. Colorado may win one narrowly. They may win it 31-28 or 38-35 or 45-42. But they're not. I'm going to take Colorado State in the points on this one. Give me Colorado State +7. And here we go with another rivalry matchup. This one, when I saw this point spread, I thought, holy cow. Oregon has not played good in their first couple of games. I mean, Idaho and Boise State, and they're struggling with these guys. And they're going to Corvallis to take on their rival. Oregon State, they feel slighted. If you don't think that they're not going to come out with a fervor, this is their Super Bowl right here. They're not in the Pac-12 anymore. They don't have a shot, really, of getting a playoff berth. This would go a long way. They'd have to run the table. But they're at home this weekend. They're getting 16.5 at home against Oregon. Dylan Gabriel's great. He's going to be an NFL quarterback. He'll probably be a top 10 pick. I get all that. But this isn't Boise State they're playing. This is going to be a team that, again, this is their Super Bowl. This is the rivalry game right here at Corvallis. This seems like a no-brainer. But you know what the saying is? If it's too good to be true, it might be. But in this case, I'm taking Oregon State +16.5. So there you go. On the pro side of the ledger, I've got Houston and Chicago. We talked about it. It's a Sunday night game in Houston at home. Chicago, their offense looks stagnant. It looked pathetic. Caleb Williams running for his life. He looks bewildered. It's going to take time. I get it. Houston looked amazing on the road in that divisional matchup against Indianapolis. Now, is this going to be a letdown for the Houston Texans? This is Chicago's first primetime game. Caleb Williams. I got to take the Texans, though, at home. I really like them. I think they're going to be a good team. I know it's only week 1, but give me the Houston Texans -6 against Chicago. Second game, this could be a snoozer. Definitely not going to look for this one on the Red Zone channel or whatever. Washington at home against the Giants. Washington, I thought, played okay against Tampa Bay. They're obviously young. Jaden Daniels is electric. He's got a few weapons there. Brian Robinson Jr. The Giants are a mess. They're already. I mean, you talk about looking befuddled, and they look just absolutely putrid. They made Sam Darnold look like the second coming of Joe Namath. I'm telling you, I mean, they made him look like Fran Tarkington in a Minnesota uniform. Now they're going to play Washington at Washington. Only a 1.5 favorite, though, Washington. So it's pretty much a toss-up. I flipped the coin on this one. I'm taking Washington. I think at home they're going to put the Giants at 0-2 and really start the Boo Birds. Troubles are abound in New York. And Brian Daboll, is he going to last the year? That's going to be the question. You've got 2 New York coaches that are in trouble with, with Daboll and, of course, Robert Saleh with the Jets. Not a good time to be a New York football sports fan, that's for sure. Give me Washington -1.5. And then finally, our last pick on the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. Give me Philadelphia -6. Monday Night Football. They get a longer rest than Atlanta. They looked good against Green Bay. There was some things that they needed to shore up, but Atlanta, this is prime time. So that means you've got Kirk Cousins, that quarterback, in a primetime game. Look at his record with Minnesota and Washington in primetime. Terrible. Monday night at home in Philadelphia. Atlanta did not look good. Let's see if they can rebound. Their defense, to me, they held a second-string quarterback without a touchdown. But, boy, they just, Kirk Cousins got harassed. Look for Philadelphia to do the same. I see Philadelphia winning this one by double digits. So taking Philadelphia -6.5. All right, there we go. So again, here's a synopsis of our week 3 Captain Lou 6-pack challenge picks. Give me Wisconsin +16 versus Alabama. Colorado State +7 against Colorado. Oregon State +16.5 versus Oregon. All home dogs, 2 double-digit dogs. Oregon State and Wisconsin getting 16 and over. I'm taking them all day long. And the pro side, Houston, give me Houston -6 against Chicago. Washington at home -1.5 versus Philadelphia or New York. And Philadelphia -6.5 at home against Atlanta. And as I mentioned, 2-4 last week, 4-8 for the season. So again, it's that simple. Here's how you do it. Just enter. It's right on the bottom of the page. I'll go ahead and put those picks up one more time before we go and take our last break. There you go. 6-pack challenge. There's my picks. Drop a line to sweetlou1965@yahoo.com with your picks. Go to 12-ounce sports. We've got the grid set up. You can put those there as well. Follow me on X at the Real Captain Lou or the Captain Lou Extravaganza or my personal Facebook page. Put them there. You can DM me them if you want. It's that simple. If you beat me on these picks, you're in the drawing for some great prizes at the end of the year. That is the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. All right, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll take a quick look at the Major League Baseball standings. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's here on Dingo TV, channel 217, and 12-ounce sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12-ounce sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right. At 12-ounce sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And one more time, as we mentioned, we are a ticket broker. We don't charge those fees. So for the big games coming up this weekend, the Pennant Drive and Major League Baseball, you name it, we've got tickets right here at 12ouncesports.com/tickets. Just hit the ticket tab also on top of the website, and we'll direct you to those tickets that you might want. All right, real quick, Major League Baseball standings, 17 games to go. The stretch drive is in. Let's take a quick look at the Major League Baseball standings as of today. The Yankees and the Orioles, again, neck and neck, a half a game separating those two teams. The Yankees have a game in hand on the Orioles. They've played one less game. The Red Sox are 73 and 72, 4 games out of the last wild card spot. In the Central Division, the Guardians with a 3.5 game lead over the Royals, 6 over the Twins, 9 over the Tigers. The Tigers are 3 games behind the Minnesota Twins for that third and final wild card spot in the American League. And of course, they lose the tiebreak against Kansas City and the Twins. We'll talk more about that in a moment. The Astros, a 4.5 game lead over the Mariners. The Mariners tied with Boston, 4 games out of that last wild card spot. In the National League, the Phillies with an 8 game lead over the Mets and the Braves at 87 and 58. The Mets and the Braves tied for the third and final wild card spot. They are 2 games behind the Arizona Diamondbacks, that is. In the Central, the Brewers hanging on to an 8.5 game lead over the Chicago Cubs, who are 5 games over 500. The Cubbies now are 5 games behind the Braves for the Braves and the Mets, who are tied for that last playoff spot. And in the American League West, the Dodgers, 86 and 59, 4.5 game lead over the Pirates, 5 over the Diamondbacks. The Padres and the Diamondbacks hold the top 2 wild card spots. Then the Braves and the Mets are tied for that last wild card spot. They are 2 games behind the Arizona Diamondbacks. So watch out, Arizona. You're not out of the woods yet. Or the San Diego Padres. Still 17 games to go for our Tigers. We mentioned as the Tigers within 3 games of that last wild card spot. Who would have thought? They have they're 3 games over 500. They got 2 games left yet with the Colorado Rockies. Then a weekend set with Baltimore. Detroit's got 6 games left with the Orioles, sandwiched in between 3 with Kansas City. I believe they've got 3 with the White Sox, and they've got Tampa Bay left at home. So those are some winnable series. Now, I know Baltimore is going to be tough. If they can somehow win 2 out of 3 from Baltimore, sweep Colorado this week, that would put them 6 games over 500. And we could have some very interesting scenarios coming up this weekend. Detroit is going to be a sports mecca this Sunday. You've got the Tigers and the Orioles, both teams playing meaningful games in September. If you would have looked at that at the beginning of the year, you thought maybe Baltimore, but not Detroit. And you've got the Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right across the street. So downtown Detroit is going to be buzzing this weekend. Can't wait for that. If you're a Detroit sports fan like I am, this is our time of the year, and let's relish it. All right, one more time with the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge picks. I'm going to put them right there on top. You know what to do. Drop me an email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com, or follow me on my Facebook pages, or follow me on X at The Real Captain Lou. Go to 12 Ounce Sports, hit the link there. You can put your picks there. You beat my picks, you're in the drawing for a $100 Visa gift card at the end of the year, plus some other prizes we'll be announcing starting next month. All right, that's going to do it, everybody, for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Hey, a quick programming note. Next Tuesday, we begin our 9th season of the ACHA Power Play. The road to St. Louis starts next week. We've already got the preseason rankings for Division I in the ACHA out. Adrian College, the defending national champs, they're ranked 1. UNLV ranked 2. No surprise there. Those teams are going to be absolutely loaded. That's Tuesday night at 7. Join us again next Wednesday at 7 for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza right here on 12 Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, channel 217. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Captain Lou here, thanking you for bringing me into your homes and your computers, and reminding you to keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. We'll see you next week here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza.